We'll get started here in just a minute. Bring up Facebook. Facebook is coming in now. Hello, folks joining us on Facebook. And come down here. Here's LinkedIn Live. And LinkedIn Live, hello, folks joining us on LinkedIn Live. And I think that is all of our platforms. We're going to get started here in just about 1 minute. A chance for everybody to get in here. We'll bring the esteemed colleagues up to screen here real quick. So add a spotlight. We'll add a spotlight, and we'll add a spotlight. There we go. We should have all four of us on screen now at this time. Go.
I got the waiters.
You got the waiters? Great. Thank you very much. David, do you want to switch back over to your regular camera so we can see your mug?
That'll cost you.
I know it will. It always does. I pay for it all the time.
There we go.
Perfect. Excellent.
Whenever I see your smiling face.
Oh my gosh.
Goodness gracious. All right. Well, we are about 10 seconds out from start time. So it's probably about good. Hello, everybody, and welcome to WaveTalkers Live. I'm Chris Mattia, W6AH, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues, David A, KK6DA, Dan, NR6V, and Dave, W0DHG. And today we are going to be talking about position reporting, and we'll focus mostly inside of Winlink, but we're going to do a lot of talking about latitude and longitude, GPS, mapping, all those kinds of things, the things that you need in order to be able to find your position and report it. So just to start off, if everyone who has access to Winlink, Dave, you can go ahead and pull the other folks off now to make it a little bit easier for folks to be able to see. If you can send a Winlink check-in, if you have access to Winlink, if you already have it up and running, go up to the forms and send us a standard Winlink check-in. Send it to all four of us. And let's see, let me see if I can get these pins off real quick.
Sorry, I'm working on it. I did the wrong thing.
You were turning people's cameras off.
Yeah, well, you know.
No worries. So that's why we're amateurs, right? So send your Winlink check-in to all four of us, KK6DA, W0DHG, NR6V, and myself, W6AH. And if you can, down in the comments section of the Winlink check-in form, let us know what location finding tools that you have in your Go kit. These would be things like your GPS. You maybe have a GPS dongle, maybe use maps, compass, maybe you even carry a sextant with you. Probably not, but it's possible. You know, you may. Who knows? So let us know what you have in your Go kit as far as location finding tools. And so let me just switch really quickly over to the PC, and I'll just walk through that check-in process. By the way, if you do not already have Winlink up and running, go onto WaveTalkers and go to the live link. It's up in the upper right-hand corner, and start at episode 1, which is where we start introducing Winlink. And we walk you through all the steps that you need in order to get yourself up and running with Winlink. There's also a resources page to help you get there. So if you're not familiar with sending the check-in form, all you need to do is to come up here to the top, create a new message, go up to the select template option, click on that, and it'll list all the different templates that are available. You want the standard templates, and you can come down here to the general forms section. There's one right there called general forms. Open that up, and there's one called Winlink check-in.txt. Just go ahead and double click that. And when it opens up, there's just a really simple form to fill out right here. And this is that comment section. Make sure you add your latitude and longitude. And this is really going to be what we're going to be spending most of the time today talking about, is how do you get this latitude and longitude inside of here. And there's been a variety of ways that you can do this. Let me show you one way kind of right away. This is kind of the really easy way. When you're at home in your shack, you've got connection to the internet. What you can do is you can open up your browser, and I'll just open up a new tab here and just go to maps.google.com. And you can navigate and find your location just as you would kind of any other tool. I'll just go ahead and zoom in here. And let's say I'm down at the marina right now. So here's the marina. I'll just keep zooming in. We'll come over here, maybe about right here. Let's say I'm down on the end of the dock. Maybe I'm right here at this point. If you just click on that and drop a point, what it does is it shows down here in the bottom, it shows your latitude and longitude. You can go ahead and click on that. It's going to drop a pin, and it's going to bring that information up over here in the sidebar for you. And you can just select right here. You can just select that, copy that to your clipboard using Control-C on your PC. And you want to make sure you get this set of coordinates down here. We're going to talk more about what those coordinates are in just a little while, but select those coordinates, copy them to your clipboard. Then you can go back over to the check-in form. And you've got both the latitude and the longitude copied at the same time. But check this out. If you just go into the latitude field and you select that and you paste Control-V, you'll paste them both in, then hit the tab key on your keyboard. What it'll do is the Winlink form is really smart. It'll go through and it'll figure out your latitude and longitude. It'll parse that data, split it into the appropriate fields right here, and enter your location in for you automatically. It's really slick. They've done a great job of adding that in, and it calculates all of your latitude and longitude right there. Go ahead and fill out the rest of the form and hit the submit button when you're finished. Just include up here in the send to, make sure to include the 4 of our call signs. All right, so let's go over to the slides. And there we are. If you're posting anything up on the social medias, be sure to tag us always, hashtag WaveTalkers, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all those fun things. And if you're watching on social media, give us a like and thumbs up and all those fun things as well. So let's get into today's topic a little more. And if I get my keyboard to respond, come on, click, there we go. So it would be amazing if every single map you had, every paper map, just automatically put a big red X on it that said you are here, and it was able to identify your particular location. Well, honestly, we've all gotten a little used to this at this point, because if you open up your cell phone has a map on it. It's got a mapping feature, and it will bring up a map and it will drop a pin right there for you. And that's really pretty cool. It's using the internet to be able to generate the map and find all that, but it's using your GPS that's inside of your device to be able to do that. Now, there are tools, there are apps that you can download that will allow you to download maps directly into your device, and it'll save them. So it'll save them offline, and then it'll use your GPS with it. It'll drop that pin, and you get a lot of information just directly off of your mobile phone. And we're going to talk about more about some of the other ways that you can get at that information and what it means. So let's see, the next thing, why is this important? Well, it's important because during an emergency, like, so this is a map of one of the days of the Thomas fire, and it's showing the burn area. If you were inside of that burn area, it's going to look like a completely alien landscape to you. Many of the landmarks may be burned out. If you're deployed in a hurricane zone or you're deployed in a major earthquake zone, all the landmarks of knowing, like, oh, I'm at the corner of Hollywood and Vine, you may not be able to tell that at all. You need some ways to be able to identify what your location is and report it accurately. Now, I got my first kind of real taste of this because I've been living on a boat for more than a dozen years now. And when you're offshore, when you're well outside of the sight of land, there are no landmarks for you. You know, here I'm only about 20 some miles offshore, and you can see the the Channel Islands here. This is the end of Anacapa Island that you can see just off the starboard bow there. And so you have some positions and some references for you, but oftentimes there's no references at all. How do you figure out your position? Well, you're going to use a variety of different tools to do that. And the tools have adjusted, they have changed over many, many thousands of years. So let's start with in the upper corner here, upper left, would be the sextant. So this is something that was traditionally used by mariners, and it allows you to calculate your latitude. And you're able to use the angle of the sun or the angle of the stars. You end up doing a whole lot of math in order to calculate this out, and you're able to find your latitude with a tool like this. You would then need to calculate your longitude by figuring out a local noon time adjustment from the standard time, which would be at the prime meridian. Long time ago, that was really difficult because until we had clocks that kept very accurate time at sea, your clocks were always a problem. So this led to a lot of sailors. You may have heard the term sailing by the latitudes. And what a lot of sailors would do long ago is they would sail, they would figure out where they wanted to go on the planet, and they would figure out the latitude that location is at. Then they would sail basically north-south in order to find the latitude that matched. And then they would turn, and then they could just use the tool like their sextant to be able to follow that line of latitude over to their location. This works pretty well as long as there's nothing between you and the destination that you're going to. However, if there are things like reefs in the way, islands, anything like that, you tend to run into stuff, and that's not really fun. Use a variety of other traditional navigation tools. I've got a few on here. We'll look at them in a little bit, but parallel rules, dividers, and so forth. But I also have a couple of other more modern tools in here. Let me switch over to the overhead view here. One of the most common is your cell phone. So these are remarkable physical computing devices. Every modern cell phone, for the most part, both Android and iOS have GPS chips in them now at this point. So you're able to calculate and find your location right with your cell phone. And many of them have a built-in app for doing just that. So if I just take my phone and I'll just pull down, I'm going to go up to the basic compass app. This is the base compass app that's built into your phone. Your phone oftentimes has a compass in it, and you'll see down here that there is a latitude and longitude that is right here on your phone. It's pretty easy to be able to find. So pretty much every cell phone is going to have this kind of tool. There may be different apps that you're going to see. We'll talk about the formats of what the latitude and longitude is in just a minute. I want to talk about a couple of other tools that are on here as well. There's also Bluetooth or USB GPSs, and you can find these on Amazon. If you go onto WaveTalkers and you go to the live section for episode 10, I've got links to these on Amazon, so you can find the ones that we're using here today. So this is just a really small, and both of these are cheap. They're about $30 each or less. It's a little just USB dongle. It just plugs into the USB port, and it's going to find your GPS location. It's got a little antenna inside of here, and it's listening for the GPS signals that are coming in. This one is a little bit different. It's kind of a puck shaped. I've got it actually plugged in out there, so I don't have it in the box. But it's got a little small puck shaped item. It's got a magnet on the bottom of it, so you can, for instance, mount it to the roof of your car if you need to, if you're operating mobile. And this one has a long USB cable on it in order to get the GPS receiver outside of your vehicle, outside of your home, so that you're able to receive the signals of the GPS satellites that are traveling around the world. So if you have one of these, one of the most common problems that you have with certainly operating a GPS dongle inside of, say, a shack or inside of a structure is you need a clear view of the sky. So you need a way to be able to get your GPS receiver, which is essentially just an antenna. You need to be able to get it out to a location where it can see the sky. Many times a window will simply work for this. And so if you If you have one like this, that can be a little tricky because you've got to have it's plugged into your laptop. However, just a very simple USB extension cable. And this is just a regular standard USB cable on one end, and then it's an extension cable on the other end. So you just come over here, take your GPS dongle, and you can just plug it in like that, and it will allow you to put the antenna over near the window or get it just outside so that you're able to use that. We'll talk about how you configure these inside of Winlink in just a few moments. But first, let's look at a couple of other items that we have here. The next is a compass, and this should really be part of every one of your Go kits because it's incredibly helpful. I know there's a built-in compass inside of your phone, but what happens when your battery dies in here and you need to be able to keep accessing it? Having a standard compass. One of the things that I found traveling all over the world, especially when I'm going into a foreign city, I may come up out of a subway and suddenly I'm trying to figure out and orient myself as to where I need to know. I know I need to go uptown or I need to go north. So being able to pull a compass out very quickly, launch the app on your phone to be able to quickly orient yourself to the location that you're trying to go is a really simple way to be able to do this. And I think Dave's going to talk a little bit in a little while about using maps and compasses a little bit more. Let's talk briefly about maps, though. With maps, there's a couple of things that you always want to start to orient yourself to when you pick up a map and you start to look at it. Now, this is a nautical chart. More than likely, you're not going to be deploying with a nautical chart, but the information that's on here is pretty much the same as what you're going to find pretty much everywhere else. So one of the first things that you want to figure out with pretty much any map is where is north. And a lot of people think, oh, well, it's just straight up and down. Well, it might be, it might not be. What you want to do is you want to look for the north indicator. So on this nautical chart, and let me just go ahead and zoom in just a little bit on that so it's a little bit easier to see. So on a nautical chart, you'll oftentimes have, it'll usually be in two concentric circles. The outer circle is almost always based on true north. And that is the direct up and down on the globe. The other inner circle is pointing to magnetic north. And the magnetic north is going to have a variation depending on the latitude that you are on. So latitude, remember, are the ones that go across like this. These are the lines of latitude. We're going to talk more about those in just a minute. And longitude run longwise vertically up and down. So as you go up or down in latitude, the magnetic variation is going to be a slightly different. And you'll always see somewhere on the map, usually right around this point. So this one says VAR 13.15. That means we're roughly about 13 degrees off with magnetic north from true north at this particular location where this map is working. So where that makes a difference is if you were to try and get a bearing on your compass, and yeah, I've got a lot of magnets, so there we go. I got to move it to a spot where I'm not getting magnets picking up on here. When your compass finally stops spinning around on here, what you can do is you can turn the map physically so that it orients the magnetic line so that it aligns with the north on your compass. Then your map would be properly oriented, so you're able to figure out the locations that you're going. So that's the first thing that you want to look for is what is magnetic north on your map. The other thing that you want to check is what's the scale of the map. And let me zoom back out a little bit on the map here. There we go. Over on the outer edges of pretty much every map, you'll find the lines, and they'll have the numbers on them that tells you your latitude and your longitude lines that are there, the degrees that those lines are on. We're going to talk about that in a second. And then you'll see these different divisions that are set up in here, and each map is going to have some sort of scale. Now, on a nautical chart, 1 minute of latitude is equal to 1 nautical mile. So this is 40 degrees, and we'll come up, or 40 minutes. And this line, the next line, which is up here, which is this one right there, that's 30 minutes. So each of these small lines here, this white line, the black line, the white line, that's 1 nautical mile that's inside of there. So it's 10 nautical miles between here and there. And you also want to look at what your contours are set to. So on a traditional, like a land-based map, your contours are going to be in feet, feet or meters. And each line that's in here is going to show you how much elevation you're rising. On a nautical chart, your contour lines are the depth of the ocean underneath of you. So those are just reference points for you to figure out where you're at, what you're looking for. So let's look a little bit at what latitude and longitude is. Let me switch back over to the PC and switch the screen to there. And one of the best tools I've found for doing this and talking about this is Google Earth. So if you just go to earth.google.com, if you have not played with this tool, it is absolutely incredible. So you can just use your mouse and you can spin the world around, and you have various bits of data that are being displayed on your map. Now, if all of your data is not being displayed properly, you can come over here to the map style, click on the layers, and you just want to come down and make sure you turn your grid lines on right there. Turn the grid lines on. If I turn that off, you can see the grid lines go away. Turn it on, they come back. It helps us figure things out a little bit. All right, click that, make it go away. Okay, so real basics of the Earth. We've got the equator running here around the middle. Here's our lines of latitude that are running. These are the white lines that are going up here. So a line of latitude runs from the equator up to the pole, and those are always in 0 to 90 degrees. So the reason that is 0, so the equator is at 0, the pole is at 90 degrees, is because the way that a degree of latitude is actually calculated. If you can imagine, we took the Earth and we just cut it in half right here at the equator, and we go all the way down into the center of the Earth. And you come out from the center of the Earth and you go up to the outer edge of the Earth at a particular point, say right here. The angle that is formed between the center of the Earth, the equator, and that point that you're at, the angle of that is your angle of latitude. So right here, we're at 10 degrees. Here, we're at about 20 degrees, 30 degrees. If we keep rotating up, you would get all the way up to 90 degrees. And if you imagine going from the center of the Earth out to the equator, center of the Earth straight up to the top of the pole, it forms a 90-degree angle. So it's 90 degrees north in latitude. Or if you look at it in the other direction, in the southern hemisphere, it would be 90 degrees south. And some maps will report this as negative number or positive number. So when you're thinking about latitude, you're always thinking about 0 up to 90 degrees. When you're thinking about longitude, the longitudes are the lines that run vertically up and down. The baseline for that is the prime meridian, which is right here. It runs straight up through the UK, and on the back side of the Earth, it comes around over here. On the other side of the Earth, not the back side, but the other side of the Earth. It's called the anti-meridian, and that divides the world vertically in that way. Now, this is defined as 0 to 180 degrees. So again, this time, take the Earth, slice it right down the middle on this prime meridian. And as you go out from one line to the next, going from the prime meridian into the center of the Earth and back out to here, that angle that's formed is 10 degrees or 20 degrees or 30 degrees. And you can go all the way around to 180 degrees. Now, if you go from the prime meridian to the east, you're heading positive numbers. If you go from the prime meridian to the west, you're going in negative numbers. Now, some mapping systems will report these as a degree of longitude east or a degree of longitude west. But many mapping systems will also use the positive and the negative designations that's there. All right, so it's a little bit about latitude and longitude. Notice it's a lot of fun to be able to play with this. Until I traveled down to South America, I went down to Chile. I was heading out to Easter Island. I had not realized that how far east South America really is. South America is really, really far east. It's further east than much of North America. It's a lot of fun to start really navigating around on Google Earth. So let's come up here. We're going to look at Southern California now. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. You can do this by just double clicking. And you'll notice that initially, all of our latitude and longitude measurements are all pretty much in regular degrees of latitude. But as you keep going in, what should happen here in just a second, let's see where there's the Channel Islands, is we'll get down to a point. If the demo gods are with me, there we go. We'll get down to a point where we start getting more divisions inside of our readings of longitude and latitude. So we've got, so right here, we're at about 119 degrees, and this would be actually negative 119 degrees because we've gone west, and then 30 minutes. If we keep going in, I'm going to keep zooming in to the Ventura Harbor here a little bit further. Google Earth is really nice because it just keeps showing you more and more detail as you keep going in to different locations. Actually, we're going to come right out here to the breakwater. And so there you go. Now we can see, here's the breakwater here. And we can see this is roughly at about 34 degrees, 14 minutes, 35 seconds is this meridian here. And this one right here is at, I'm sorry, that's this one here. And the vertical ones are 119 degrees, 16 minutes, 10 seconds west. So that would be this line here. So if we're going halfway between, you have to divide by 60. This is all a base 60 thing. We're used to working at base 60 because of our watches, but there's a better way. There's a little bit easier way. Notice that we're not going to change anything on the map. We're going to leave the map set up just like this, and we're going to leave all of these in. But with Google Earth, you can come up here, you can click on the little menu option. You go up to settings. We'll scroll down just a little bit in the settings, and you'll find the longitude and latitude formatting. Right now it's set to degrees, minutes, and seconds. If I click that drop down, there's a couple of other options, and the one we want to check is decimal.
Hey, Chris, while you're in there in the settings, there was a question in the chat asking, how do you get the display of the lat and long to show up in Google Earth?
Oh, sure. Let me go back to that. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So to get the display of the lat and long, go over on the left-hand side for map style. You'll see one that looks like kind of like a little layers icon. It's over here on the left-hand side. Click on that. And you want to scroll down in that list, and you'll find one that says turn on grid lines. Just click that little toggle, and it will toggle that on and off. You'll notice that my grid lines are not straight right now. They're kind of tilted on an angle like that. I'm going to make this menu go away. Click that. And then down on the right-hand side, there's the little north up arrow, the little red arrow. Go ahead and click that. And magically, Google Earth just like straightens everything out and makes it nice and neat because I've been dragging stuff around. So now I've changed my latitude and longitude display from being degrees, minutes, and seconds, which was the default. That's kind of the older style of how latitude and longitude was reported. And if you recall, when I had my phone up on screen, you'll see down here that my latitude and longitude is being reported on this particular app as degrees, minutes, and seconds. In Google Earth, though, we can tell it to change how we want the latitude and longitude to be reported. So now it's being reported in degrees and decimals. So now this is a decimal reporting structure here. Decimals are a lot easier to figure out. Why? Because they're all based on 10, and 10 is something that we're all able to count to, for the most part, pretty easily. It's something we have a lot of familiarity with. So if you take two lines here, the distance, if you divide that distance up first in half, you can then continue to divide it up and find an approximate decimal location for some item because you can just divide it pretty easily into 10 segments. And if you look on one of the charts, that's exactly what these lines over on the side are doing. They're taking that one measurement from one line to the next, and it's dividing it up by 10. And then there's little smaller lines underneath of that. So the way you would use, say, a traditional set of dividers, let's say you wanted to get a measurement of some distance that's on the map between two objects, you just take and you set your dividers to the distance on the map for what that is. You come over to the side and you say, oh, that is roughly about, that's about 5 nautical miles or about 5 miles or whatever the measurement happens to be. Traditionally on a regular map like this, you would also try and get a bearing for a location. So let's say you take your compass and you sight with your compass and you figure out that you're looking for a particular bearing that you've got. You've got it mapped out on the chart. You can come here to your compass rose. You can find the center point, put your parallel rules on it, match up that line so that it goes to your magnetic line so that it matches up. And then you just use your you use your compass or your parallel rules. You just walk them over and you can draw that line so you know what bearing you need to go to. That's the kind of the two systems that are there. You've got your decimal system and you've got your degrees, minutes, seconds. Now, why is all of this relevant? All right, let's go back over to Winlink now. And let's look at something in a little more detail. So here inside of our Winlink, we've been playing around with the mapping feature where we'll map out a position from the reports of what people are reporting what their GPS location is. But how do you get your GPS location into Winlink from an actual GPS? And we're going to spend the rest of the time exploring that. So if you come up here, you can click on the little cross that's here. This is called the position report. And mine's initially set to is a red cross because I don't have a GPS that's fully connected up right now. So it's showing red, which means no data is coming in at this point. So go ahead and click on that. And what it's going to do is it's going to open up this GPS position report window. I'm going to close that. I'm going to show you the other way to get to it. You come up here to settings and you come right down here, GPS position reports. We'll go ahead and click on that. And it's going to open this window up. Now, what this window is doing is it's the place where you tell your PC, you tell Winlink where your GPS is, how it's connected into your system so that it can start pulling that data in and use it inside of Winlink. So I've just taken my GPS dongle. I've taken this one that I've got here, and I've plugged it into my PC. Where is it plugged into? We could do this by trial and error, but a better way to do it would be to simply come down to your start menu. I'm going to open up the device manager by simply typing, so if I can type, it'd be dangerous. Device manager, click on that, and it's going to open up the regular Windows device manager. And you're going to come down here until you find the COM ports or ports. Click the little drop down next to that, and you should see a COM port that you recognize for what you've just plugged in. So in this case, prolific USB serial COM port, that is this device that I've got right here. If I had plugged in this other little small GPS dongle into the port, it would have come up possibly with a different COM port on there. But what you want to know is you want to just find out which COM port it is. So in this case, it's COM port A. I'm sorry, COM port 8. Go ahead and close that. So I'm going to come back over to my GPS position report, GPS serial port, click the drop-down menu there, and sure enough, there's COM port 8. We'll go ahead and click on that, and if the demo gods are with us, it magically just works. It sees the GPS dongle, it grabs the data from that GPS dongle, and it loads it into this string of data, and it's ready for you to be able to use. You'll notice here that the GPS latitude is reported in degrees, minutes and decimal minutes actually is what's in here right now. But if you go over to create a new message, so I'm going to close this. I'm going to go in here. Notice my little plus now is green. That means there's data coming in from my GPS. Winlink knows where it is. Winlink has your GPS location, so it's ready to go now. I'm going to go over, though, and I'm going to click on the new message. I'm going to go up to select templates. I'm going to go up to standard templates. We're just going to go to that general template that we just used to check in, the Winlink check-in form. I'm going to open that up. Let me make the window just a little bit smaller. If I could drive a mouse, I'd be dangerous. There we go. And right here, you'll see it's plugged in a latitude and a longitude for you. Well, how did it do? Did it get it right? Did it get it wrong? Is it actually working? Is it just remembering what it's already there? It's hard to tell. So let's go back over here, and I'm just going to open up the little GPS position report. I'm going to click on that. Opens it up. I'm getting the data that's flowing in, but you'll notice that the numbers here do not match. And that's simply because they're two different formats that the data is being reported. This GPS dongle is reporting the data in this particular format. And so it's coming in. Winlink in the background is handling all the translation for you. It's just gone ahead and figured it out, and it really is plugging it in. So how do you do a quick proof to make sure that this is really what you're seeing? Well, if you remember on the phone, let's see if I can bring my phone up again. And I'm just going to zoom in so it's a little bit easier to see. There we go. If you remember on the phone was having our degrees, minutes, seconds. So this number pretty close to matches the number that we've got up in here. The phone, and I'm inside the building, so mine's a little bit off right here. But they're going to be pretty close. How do you get to the decimal equivalent, though? Well, there's not a way on many of the apps to actually change the decimal equivalent inside of that app. So you just got to find a different app that's going to do that. So in this case, I've got an app. I've got an app on here that's called Ham Square. Now, this is it's an iOS app. There's probably something equivalent on Android. But I'll open up Ham Square. This is a simple little app that is just used to be able to calculate your grid square location. You can see my grid square location. It's calculated right there. But what it also does is it tells me my latitude and longitude up here in decimal notation. It's telling me the same decimal notation that Winlink is showing me over here inside of the form. And that's really helpful. It gives you that nice reality check. Now, let's say you don't have a GPS dongle. You could, of course, use your phone, take these numbers that are in here and just type them directly into the form. And you know, Bob's your uncle, you're able to keep going at that point. You're able to report your position accurately at that point. But where else can you get that GPS location? There's a bunch of apps inside of your phone. There's also an app, and this one's kind of cool. I forgot that this was in here. There's also an app in many smartwatches. So I've got an Apple Watch here. I'm just going to go ahead and click on the side to go into the different apps that are here. Many smartwatches now also have a GPS chip in them, and it can also often be found inside of the compass tool. So I'll go ahead and touch on the compass. Here's my compass, and it works like a regular compass. I can turn my wrist, and the compass will turn for me. But if I dial down just a little bit, right there is my GPS coordinates that I'm able to use. And I can, again, enter these in. Now, you can enter in the degrees, minutes, seconds into Winlink. It'll figure it out. It does that conversion for you automatically. And that's really nice. So you don't really have to worry a whole lot about which one that you have set up. Just make sure you're consistent with what you're using. Okay. Probably enough for me. We're going to look at another brand new feature that's still in beta here in just a little while. But why don't we go over to KK6DA for a few minutes, because you've got a radio set up there that has GPS information in it as well. Why don't you kind of walk us through what you've got set up?
This is the IC705, the new ICOM, and I have it set up on my desktop here. I'll show you in just a moment. Streaming GPS data, because the IC705 has a GPS chip in it, streaming it to a Microsoft Surface Go 2, completely off the internet, has nothing to do with the internet. All of the information is coming from GPS. So I will tell you that all of the information that we're going to give you here has come from a YouTube video, reasonably new, from VK3FS. We'll put a reference. Chris, I think it's on WaveTalkers. Maybe we should put it in the chat also. But you can Google how to set the clock on your laptop using the IC705 GPS. Now, why was this important to VK3FS? Because down under, they do a lot of FT8. And as you know, FT8 relies on an absolutely precise clock. If you're off 3 seconds, you're not going to be able to hit that window correctly. So setting your clock in the field using GPS was really important. I could do FT8, but that's not the point of our demo today. The point of our demo is to show you how we push that GPS data from the radio to the laptop and then into Winlink. Chris, I'm going to share my screen. And if you could spotlight that, hang on just a second. And there we go. Okay, this is the screen of my Microsoft Surface Go 2. And you see it's receiving GPS data right now, and it's receiving it via COM port 4. I knew that and didn't have to explore that. The radio is connected by a single USB cable that has 2 channels, and one of those channels is using the GPS data. So there you go. That's what it looks like. You can see, we'll close this. And you can see that I'm green, which means I have GPS data. So let's magically, no, I didn't want that. Let's magically bring up, yes. Let's select a template. Maybe it's a Winlink check-in. We'll do that. I'm going to choose something out of mapping GIS forms. There's a Winlink check-in. And if the demo gods are with us, yes, here is the longitude and latitude military version of that. And my
hey, David, we're seeing the form, not the
yeah,
the web
you only
browser.
shared one window. You didn't share the whole screen. Just go ahead and stop sharing real quick, and then make sure you share the entire desktop.
Okay, let's try it again. There we go. So there's the form, and you can see latitude and longitude. It's already there. That's being generated from GPS data from the IC705. Pretty slick. All right, now let me show you what the 705 looks like. You can stop that share, Chris, and let me go over to my preferences. And here's the 705. So we can show what the 705 is seeing pretty readily by going to GPS. Okay. And there's the data. Phil, I don't know if the 7300 is compatible like the 705. My guess is probably.
7300 does not have a GPS in it. So,
all right. So there you go.
705 would have this feature.
There you go.
There are a variety of other radios that do have a GPS in them. The 991A, I believe, has one. The Kenwood D710G, the Kenwood D74. There's a couple of other Yaesus that have it as well. Page 2. Menu page 2, David. There you go. There's your GPS. And so
there are the satellites that the radio is looking at.
Yeah, and so one of the things with GPS, you'll notice that over on that the crosshairs over there on the left-hand side of his screen, what you have over there is that you're seeing the number of satellites that his GPS currently has a lock on. And it's got 8 satellites. So you need a minimum number of satellites in order to get a position. And the more satellites you get a lock on, the more focus, the better accuracy your particular position is going to be reported. And so the satellites are constantly moving. They're not all in a geosynchronous orbit. So they're going to constantly be kind of coming in and out. And depending on your location, so like for instance, right now at my house, I have another house that's pretty much right up next to me. So I've got a very small alley with the window where I'm at. And then my house has stucco on it, which means it's got, wire mesh covering much of the house that the stucco is sitting on. So I'm basically in a big Faraday cage. So I only get a view outside of my window. And so I'm not able to get a lock on as many satellites. Whereas David, at the location that he's at, he's got windows more available to him to be able to get that. Your GPS, that little icon up there was solid, which indicates that it has a lock on your signal. If it was blinking, that would mean it's still trying to acquire a signal.
And Chris, interestingly, I am inside second floor of my house. There's a window behind the radio. There's a window to the right of the radio. Big picture windows. So, that's where it's seeing 8 satellites. I'm reasonably impressed.
So how is your 705 connected to your PC? Is it connected via Bluetooth, wireless, or USB?
No, you can't do it wireless. There are not enough channels. So here is the one USB cable. And in this configuration, that cable gives you 2 channels. So one would be audio and cat control. The other would be GPS data.
Okay. Are you able to go over, can you share the screen on your Surface again for us real quick?
Yeah.
And just do share the whole screen. There we go. Go ahead and close that. Close the Winlink check-in form for us. You'd have to fill it out. You can just X out of it.
Zoom is covering up all that data.
Zoom, it's always in our way. All right. Go down to your Windows menu. Go ahead and click on your Windows menu in the lower left.
Yep.
And just start typing in device manager for device.
Yeah.
There it is. Go ahead and click on that. At the top, it selected it for us. And let's click on the ports COM LTP.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
There you see the 2 IC705 ports, port A, port B.
And so these are configured down in the settings, and that's going to be specific for every single radio. So we're not going to really go into all of the details as to how you would set those up. But you're able to transmit that data into the computer. And in this case, the GPS data is coming on IC705 serial port B, which is COM4. So,
right.
Perfect. So if you can close that window, let's go back into your position reporting.
It's a tiny screen.
It is a tiny little screen. It looks like we're getting a little ghosting of the device manager again. And let's go back to the position report screen, which is that little plus. For some reason, we're still seeing your device manager open. Yeah, you can close that.
Because he...
Yeah, hit the little green plus for us.
Yep. And there you see COM4.
That's the one that's selected in order to talk to the GPS signal and bring those data in. So let me go ahead and switch. So now that we've seen how that works, we're bringing those data in. I want to look at a way that we're able to use these data in a slightly different way. So let me pin myself again so you're able to see my screen. There we go. All right. So I still have mine's connected to COM port 8 because that's what my PC has decided it's going to do. And I have the data all flowing in here. So down here on the position report options, down here at the bottom, I'm going to click the button that says use GPS position. And what that's doing is it's forcing my position report now to use the data that's coming in from my GPS. So now I want to post what my position is. We've already looked about how to send in use one of the forms that has the mapping feature, but this is another feature that's in here, and it's allowing you to post your position to Winlink. It's essentially telling Winlink, hey, this is where I'm at. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to click this post report option, and there's a new item in my outbox. So not even get any other feedback, but it's put a new item in my outbox. And if I click on the outbox, you can see that it's a position report is what it's doing. Now, I'm just going to use Telnet. I'm not going to connect via RF right now. So I'm going to hit open session, and I'm just going to go ahead and send that. I'm going to start that session and send it. And so what this is doing is obviously it's picking up all of your check-ins. Thank you very much, everyone, for sending your check-ins. That's really lovely to see those coming in. But it's sending my position from my GPS, and it's sending it into Winlink. And it's going to take just a second for all the check-ins to finish downloading. And while that's doing that, what I want to do is I want to come over, close that window. I'm going to create a new message, and I'm going to go up here to select templates. I'm going to go down here to the standard templates. I'm going to open that up, and then I'm going to come down here to mapping GIS forms. I'm going to click that open, and there's a new item here that says catalog map capable downloads. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. I'm just going to open that up. It's going to, like any other form, it's going to open it up in my browser. And there's two possible types of reportings that you can do. There's the Winlink 2K mobiles. And what that's going to do is it's going to show you, it's going to return all of the position reports from everybody who submitted a position report for the last 30 days into Winlink. The other form is going to tell me the closest 30 Winlink operators that have submitted a position report to me based on my GPS position. So first I'm going to select that one. So this is where it's really helpful if you're being deployed. Get in your deployment section. You've got Winlink up and running. Go ahead and submit a position report that's outside of just the regular form, because this is kind of cool. So I'll go ahead and first I'll select that one, hit submit, and say okay. And doesn't really show us a whole lot other than it closes the form. It's pretty simple. It's just going to create a subject of request and Winlink 2K _ nearby. I'm going to go ahead and post that to the outbox, and I'm going to send the other one at the same time. I'm going to click that, go back to the templates, standard templates. I'm going to go to the mapping GIS forms, the same catalog map capable. This time I'm going to select all the mobiles. Just hit the little radio button, hit submit. Yes, okay. There you go, minimize that out of the way. And this one, the text of the message is pretty simple, Winlink 2K _ mobiles, and it's a request. So we'll do that and hit post to outbox. I've got two items in my outbox now. I'm just gonna go ahead and submit those up again via Telnet. We don't need to, obviously you could do this via RF if you needed to, but I'm gonna go ahead and post those positions. Now, it comes back pretty quickly to you, but it takes, about 30 seconds, maybe a minute or so sometimes. So you can just go ahead and either set your, if you were doing this in the field, you probably would want to set, if you have a Telnet connection, to constantly be checking. But if you're doing this via RF, always just go ahead and just press the start button and run a couple of cycles of it. So it didn't come back yet. We'll give it another minute or so for it to come back in. And we're just waiting for it to come around on the guitar again. There we go. One more time. Maybe this time we're lucky. Nope, not yet. It's coming in soon. Comment coming in from Mike: using RF, they come back in a couple of minutes after you reconnect to a gateway. It will come in. It just takes a second or so. That's a good question. Tanya is asking, how is mobiles defined in this context? I believe, and we've got a lot of guys from the Winlink team on the call, but I believe it's just anybody who submitted a position report. Is there any other designation besides mobile in that context? Oh, it looks like they just came in. Okay, so they did. All right, so those came in.
And Mike's confirmed that in mobile's anybody that submits a report.
Yeah, it's anybody who submits a report. Okay, so they came in. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on the little mapping thing, and we've all, if you've been following along with us on the WaveTalkers Live, you've seen us go into this form. If not, we covered in episode 8, I believe it was, in a lot more detail. So we'll click on the drop down here, and you'll notice that there's two options. There's one that's a 30-day position report, and there's another one that's nearest position reports. I'm going to go ahead and select the nearest position reports. Number stored is always going to be 30 because you're getting the 30 nearest operators that have submitted position reports to your location. I'll go ahead and just select that, hit display maps, and if the demo gods are with me, check that out. These are the 30 nearest Winlink operators to my current location that have submitted position reports. And that's pretty cool the way that works. So very quickly you could poll out and you can see, oh, look, there's K6OLI. He has submitted a position report. And that position report was submitted 9.3 days ago. It's kind of fun. All right, let's look at the other one. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to just click the drop down again. And this time I'm going to do the 30-day position reports. This one's really fun. Look at that. 406 position reports. We'll go ahead and display that on the map. Doesn't look like a whole lot's changed, but let me blow that up to full screen. And I'm going to use the zoom wheel a little bit and zoom out. And yeah, there we can see Winlink operators all over the US. And I'll continue to zoom out a little bit. Oh, I'm not getting, let's see, let me set the filters. Maybe I got a filter in place. 0. No, I was seeing, let's see, unset the filtering, see if that makes a difference. Interesting. Yesterday I was seeing stations all over the world. I'm not sure why I'm only seeing US-based stations. This is, by the way, a beta feature. At this, or no, the next feature that I'm going to show you is going to be beta feature. This is I think in the current shipping version of Winlink. But there you go. You can see operators all over. Let's zoom in a little bit. Again, pan over. You can see Winlink operators all over the U.S., Mexico, Canada, Hawaii, all over the place in those position reports. So pretty helpful to be able to find that information. Let's see. Dave, do you want to talk about any kind of mapping things for a minute before we share the other feature that we found? We're getting close to the top of the hour.
Sure, we can do a quick share here. I think I wanted to start a little further back in the Winlink world here, as far as features and mapping. And we talked about different things, and we showed you where there's different ways to get your your GPS location, and we talked about my favorite tool here, right? Our compass. You guys see my screen?
We can. You want to turn your camera on?
Oh, I should turn my camera on. That would help.
I'll let you.
Sorry about that. But I want to start back with the compass, right? As was pointed out here, you've got a compass in your phone. There's some cool features, on this. You can tap on the latitude and longitude, actually bring you to the map feature. But if we go back to back to where we started, back to Winlink as an application, and we start thinking about, well, how are the other features? How are these kinds of tools that we just showed you useful? Just from the get-go, once you start getting into RF, I think this is really a key important point to make is, as we start going to look for our gateways, right in the selection criteria, when you get information and you want to look for a channel, the Winlink development team's providing you, not only distance, but bearing, right? And why is a bearing important? Well, where I live, bearing is important because I live up against a hill, and everything to the south of me is all blocked by, mountains that raise several hundred, if not 1,000 feet above me. So, well, this might be a great gateway, AJ7C-10. We all, those that are familiar with the Southern California area understand that it's a hybrid gateway. It has coverage on 4 or 5 different frequencies. It's a super useful gateway. But based on this bearing, I know, looking at my compass, I can't get right to it. And, if I were to plop down in a new location and know what my location is, be able to put my grid square in here and do an inquiry and get an updated table, I may be able to just look around me or use a map to see what the good directions are. But I also can use my compass to say, oh, gosh, the closest 2 gateways for me are right through a lot of dirt. And maybe the 3rd or the 4th on the list, maybe a little further out, but it's a clear line of sight. So, we kind of start with that perspective. We did show you, a couple of different dongles. I like these, plug right back in the back of your PC. They ramp up real quick, and Chris showed you some of these other units as well, and the power of using that to be able to generate a lot of these maps. That was kind of what I was interested in showing. I think I don't want to belabor it too much more, but just to get you thinking about it, in the beginning, rather than jumping right into all the fancy maps, and they are very cool and they're very useful. But thinking about, boots on the ground, getting setting up, getting ready to go, and finding a way to connect into the network is as important to me as what you can generate out of it. And I think with that, I'm going to stop sharing and send it back to you, Chris.
Thanks, Dave. And to his point there about finding bearings, if you're operating on HF, it's really oftentimes helpful to be able to use that bearing information that's provided to you by Winlink from the propagation maps to find your gateway. You can also find azimuthal maps that will show you the projection. So this one is this one's put out by NS6T. We'll put a link in the show notes for it as well. But this one, you plug in your latitude and longitude here, and it centers the world on your location. And then if you're trying to contact a station around the world somewhere, the bearings around the outside edge perimeter of the map shows you the bearing that you need to point your antenna to in order to try and get the great circle path to that location. So very cool. What I wanted to show you is one more thing about how you can get GPS data in. And so I've gone ahead and inside of Winlink, I've gone up to my settings. I've gone to the Winlink Express, and I've got it set so I can download and field test the beta features that are coming out. So you're welcome to go ahead and test this. It's a really good idea not to use this in a deployment because these features are in beta. But I want to give you a little sneak peek into this really cool thing that is working. And it's KK60A who figured out how to make all of this stuff work. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up my phone really quickly here. Actually, let me do it like this. Give me 1 second to bring that up on screen. There we go. All right, so I've got my phone on screen. I'm just going to park it over here behind me. And I'm going to open up in my folder of apps. There's an app on iOS. There's a free version and there's a paid version. The paid version is $7.99. It's GPS to IP. GPS to IP, the number 2 IP. So I'm going to open that app up, and what it's doing is it's showing it's going to have my GPS coordinates, and it's going to send those GPS data from my phone via my phone's IP address. Now, in order to make this work, you would need to have your phone and your laptop both on the same wireless network. Now, it can be tethered. It can be using your phone as the internet provider for your laptop. So you're sharing your internet connection, and there's settings in here to be able to do all of that. I'm just using my home Wi-Fi for this at this point. You could, of course, set up a small Wi-Fi at the location. At the top, there's just one single little toggle. You'll just go ahead and turn that feature on, and you notice that what it does is it goes in and it finds my GPS, turns it on, and it finds the signal, and it's got my GPS coordinates that are going in right up here. It also has my phone's IP server address. And this is all just my local network. So it's just standard 192.168 address. And it also tells us the port number down here. Now I'm going to go back over to Winlink, and I'm going to click on the little green plus. Now the green plus is indicating that I've got a GPS signal that's coming in from my GPS dongle. Remember, that's coming in via COM8. Well, if I click this drop-down menu, there's a new feature they're working on, and it's TCP IP. Check this out. You select TCP IP, you plug in the IP address that it says right here on the phone. So 192.168.2.230, it's plugging it in. You plug in the port IP, in this case is 111.2.3, and you hit the set button, and look at this. These data that are coming in from the GPS in my phone via IP directly into the network, through the network into the computer. So you're able to simply use your phone connected to your laptop that's running Winlink in order to get your GPS location. So instead of buying one of the GPS dongles for, say, $30, you can simply get an $8 app, and it'll pretty much do the same thing. Now, all that said, a GPS dongle that's going to have the antenna on it that you're going to be able to put in a location probably is going to be a better long-term solution, but this is an option for you to be able to look at. And those data are coming in directly like that. So,
and Chris, just one other point too, in experimenting with this just briefly, like 30 minutes, since your iPhone becomes a GPS data server, it can provide that data and push it to multiple devices at the same time.
That's really important. So let's say you're in an MCOM deployment. Let's say your deployment group has, say, an EOC kind of setup where you've got multiple operators that are sending different bits of data, different types of data. They've got a couple of Winlink stations that are set up. You could use a system like this, where you have one source of GPS data that is connected to a local area network that's not connected out to the rest of the internet. It's just allowing the devices inside of, say, your trailer or inside of your the tent that you're operating out of, or whatever that location is, all of those different systems can enter in the IP address information, and everybody can get the GPS coordinate data and to be able to have a consistent location that all of those data are being shared out from. It's a really, really cool feature. I think the guys on the Winlink team are doing just an outstanding job of pulling some of these features together to make all of this stuff just work so seamlessly together. Dan, do you have a couple of apps on the Android? Because I know you're an Android user. I'm a Mac user primarily. Do you have any Android apps that you found for the GPS data? I think you're still on mute.
Yeah. Yes, I do. Okay. Here. All right. Did you share me, Chris?
You are pinned. Yes.
Okay. So I looked around a lot, and on Android there are dozens and dozens of compass apps, and many of them are very much the same. Many of them have some very specific use cases. But this one that I found is it's free app, and it's really quite good. And the problem is there are multiple apps that are called Compass. So this is the one by Pixel Pros that I liked. And what I like about it is that you can set it to do compass things, but also it tells you your GPS location or your lat long right there on the screen without any major work. Tells you sunrise, sunset times, and your altitude. Pretty good.
Do you have your Android showing on your computer?
I'm showing a picture.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and share your screen. We're not seeing your screen yet.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Hit the share button and just share.
Yeah, I'm trying here. Once again, my okay. Now you got it.
Hit the X key or exchange. Hit the exchange button down at the bottom to switch displays.
Where is that? Oh,
down,
exchange.
There you go.
Now you got it.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the app Compass, altimeter, sunrise, sunset, Pixel Pros, and this is what it looks like. And like I said, it shows sunrise, sunset, altitude. It does all your basic compass functions, and it shows your lat and long. You can go into the settings and change the format for lat and long, depending on your need. And it shows my address too, and it actually got it right. So now you know where to send your hate mail. But, you know, if you have Android, it comes with Google Maps, and you can simply long press on any location on Google Maps, and it will come up and show you the lat long. So you can always get that information without adding a separate app. But this is kind of nice. I think most versions of Android do not have a compass app built in. So this is one I found that I liked. And that's it. Back to you, Chris.
Well, thanks, Dan. I see there's a question that came in about, can we show, let me see, replace spotlight. There we go. Can we show how to set the cell phone to laptop using Bluetooth? You're talking about how to share your connection from one device to another. If you're looking for that, typically what you would do is, let me go to this camera. Typically what you would do is, at least on iOS, you need to make sure that you have tethering available, and you can create a wireless network directly from your device to share your internet connection. Now, this is really helpful if you're on something like FirstNet. So a lot of first responders are all on FirstNet, and you do get some really nice features of that, like unlimited data and tethering, which is amazing for being able to do this. So what you can do is you can go to settings And there's an option here for personal hotspot. You just turn on the personal hotspot, and you go ahead and just push that slider right there to allow others to join your hotspot. And whatever you name your hotspot will automatically show up on your PC when you search for wireless networks. If you're looking for in the GPS to IP address, how do you share that via Bluetooth? We haven't explored this app entirely in depth, but down in the settings area, down in the bottom, you can come all the way down into the bottom section of this. And there are options for being able to set how you have your network selection set. So if you do Bluetooth, more than likely you're going to change it to this. And you probably need to go into your PC and bind your PC via Bluetooth to your phone in order to get that data to flow in. Usually Bluetooth, that's one of the ways that you need to be able to do this. There's a lot of configurations here inside of this app. This app is designed for marine navigation apps such as iNavX, which brings in electronic charts and allows you to do navigation when you're offshore, and it's using the GPS in your phone to be able to transmit that data into your chart plotter application.
And I just in going through the App Store for Android, Google Play, there appear to be versions, not that exact app, but there's one called Net GPS. It has fairly good reviews and seems to do the same thing. There's another one that does it over Bluetooth, GPS to Bluetooth. Might be worth looking at. Like I say, I haven't played with any of them. There's another one called GPS Connected, which has very good reviews, might be worth looking at.
We'll also say, I mentioned this feature is still in beta, this TCP/IP, and this app, we're still testing it. If you do see this, when you're in the app, if you see connections is set to 0, we have seen where, and we're not sure yet if it's the phone is going to sleep, not sending the data over or not. But if you see the connections goes to 0, then there's a good chance that you've lost the actual connection into your PC. And there's a really easy way to reset that. All you need to do is just come over into Winlink and go ahead and close your position report. Go ahead and just close Winlink. Launch it again. Hit the little plus.
Yep.
You'll notice that it reconnects. And if I switch back over, you'll notice now the connection has gone back to 1. So we're not sure where that's coming in yet. The feature is still being developed out. It's to be expected, is why it's in beta at this point. But this is a absolutely wicked cool option. More than likely it's coming from the phone. And it may be the phone, there may be a setting inside of the phone that it's going to sleep and not constantly sending that.
Yeah, we haven't played with it enough, but when it did not connect, keeping the app open first and enabling that before you open Winlink seemed to reconnect the data to the program right away.
Yeah, it works really well with that. So with that, and I've been trying to keep track of any questions, David, Dan, any other questions in the chat that we may have missed?
There was a question about connecting the little cell phone to the laptop using Bluetooth. I think that's probably
yeah, I just did that one.
Yeah, I think that covered that. If not, there's YouTubes on that.
Where to get the world map centered on you. Oh, the world map centered on you. Let me go back over to here. It's been a while since I downloaded this. It notes courtesy of Tom NS, November Sierra 6 Tango. So if you just do a search for Azimuthal map NS6T, you likely can be able to find
it's
that.
It's at his call sign November Sierra 6 Tango.net/azimuth.
Yeah, it's cool. You plug in your GPS coordinates and you get this. I keep one of these by my HF station all the time because it's really, really helpful. I use a hex beam, and so being able to dial in and say, oh, hey, I'm trying to get, I always forget, like, in order to get to South Africa from Southern California, it's really about 95 degrees that I've got to point the antenna. It's up much higher than you always kind of think. But yeah, this is a really cool thing. Very helpful. It is not unusual for us to not have access to the internet when on a mission. No internet, no map. Can I use maps I have stored on my computer, i.e. nav charts? Yes, you can. So that first screenshot that I had of my phone, there are a bunch of apps. Let me see if I can get to one of the ones that I have used. And there are lots of them out there. Let me switch over to my phone. And these work on a lot of different tablets and so forth. There's a lot of maps and charts that you can download. Topo Maps is one that I use for regular topographic maps. And many of any of the government issued maps, one of the things that we have all paid for with our taxes is access to all of these maps, which are absolutely amazing. So you can download the 7.5-minute topos, and they go directly into your device, and they're stored in there. The same thing with navigation charts. This is an app. This one's pretty expensive. If you're in the boating world, iNavX, I want to say this is probably about $50 or so, but it's excellent. You can download all of these charts, download them, and then you can use them offline because your GPS does not require the internet. The GPS in your phone and your watch and all of these different devices, that's talking directly to the satellites themselves. It's bypassing the internet altogether. One thing to note, if you are an iPad user, iPads that have the cellular connection chip have a GPS chip in them. If you do not get the cellular package, your iPad does not have the GPS chip in it. It's part of the same chipset that's used on the cellular. So even if you're getting an iPad for, say, MCOM work, make sure you get the model that is for cellular, so that it gets that GPS chip built in. You can, of course, also share your GPS connection from your phone to your iPad via a variety of different methods. But those are a couple of the apps that I use, Topo Maps, and there's lots of them out there to be able to download and store the data. SV, there's a long message here. Map tiles downloaded. Oh, this is a question about map tiles. So let me go over real quick on the PC. That's a good question. Inside of, nope, not that screen, this mouse. There we go, close. So the question is about the map tiles in order to be able to use them when the internet is not in. So we're talking about this mapping feature right here. I'm going to go in, and while we're here, let's actually go look at the Winlink check-ins, see where folks are coming in at. And we're going to go and display the map, and I'm going to go up here to set filters, and I'm going to say, let's just get the filters for the last 4 hours, and say save. And I'm going to blow this out to full screen so we can see. I'm going to zoom out a few clicks. Oh, let's go all the way out. Look at that. There's our map of the world. We get it. Look at that. Hey, we've ZL1. Got our ZL.
Bravo. Hey, bravo. We need a bigger map.
We do need a bigger map. That's awesome. So one of the very cool things about the way the Winlink team has implemented this mapping feature is when you open up the map and you've got a connection to the internet, it's downloading these map tiles. So it's downloading this very broad view map right now. And then as I continue to zoom in, I'm going to use my mouse wheel here. I'm going to drag up with the right mouse button, keep zooming in, because maybe I'm really worried about this area right here. I'm going to zoom in even further. And as I just pan around, what's happening in the background is Winlink is actually storing all of these map tiles for me. So if my connection to the internet were to be severed, then I would have all of these particular map tiles that I've gone in and I've looked at stored on my Winlink machine so I could keep exploring that area of the map. And it's going to do it at the zoom level that you're currently set at. So if I unplug the internet right now and I didn't zoom in further, I wouldn't have more tiles. And where are these being stored? Let me go up and see if I can find them. I'm going to go over here to my Windows Explorer, which is there.
You're becoming a Windows whiz.
I'm something like that. I'm gonna go to my C drive, which is around here somewhere. There it is, C drive. I'm gonna go into RMS Express because that's where we have Winlink installed, and then I believe this is Steve. RMS Map Cache. That right there, Map Cache. I'm gonna go into that, and here are the tiles that have been cached by the program. Now, this is kind of cool because let's say you get one operator, you get a quick internet connection, you can actually take this folder and share it around to the other operators and to be able to share those map tiles as well. And as long as you put it in the same place and all that stuff, it generally works pretty well. Let's see if there's any other questions that I've missed.
While you're doing that, I downloaded and installed Net GPS, and it does what GPS to TCP does. It seems to work well. It's a little more kludgy to get it set up, but I've got on my laptop here, I've got current GPS stuff coming in over IP. So
awesome.
Net GPS, and it's a free app.
Sweet. Kit makes a note, FYI, after upgrading to Windows 11, I had to re-download the Windows 10 driver for the BU353S4 GPS dongle. It changed the port. That's also pretty common if you either upgrade the operating system, and each of the dongles that come in can be a little different. So for instance, the David and Dave said they didn't have any trouble getting the little small white dongle working. When I first got mine in and I plugged it in, it didn't work at all. I had to type in all of the information on the front of the chip and do a Google search for that. And I found the drivers for it, downloaded and installed them, and it worked just fine. You got to play with these things to make sure that it's going to work. This one worked just fine out of the box, just plugged it straight in, had absolutely no issues. It just plugged in and Windows figured that out. So, I mean, you got to do your basic troubleshooting that's there for as you do with anything. I saw, I think it was Lloyd had a note. See if I can find that. Lloyd, the South Carolina Forestry Commission uses GPS Test for Android devices. Thanks, Lloyd. GPS Test is the app that he's saying he uses there. Let's see what other. Dave, N7RGS says consider CalTopo and SARTopo, that's CALTOPO, or SARTOPO, apps for PC and cell phones. And let's see, anything else that I'm missing? Is Pinpoint a good source of maps for how they work? So Pinpoint, that's a great point. If you go back to episode 5 or 6, I think it was
4. I think 4.
4 was still a part of our original course. So I'm going to open up my sound modem because I do have my Signal Link plugged in. And if the demo gods are with me, yeah, I'm still getting data coming in here. And I'm going to open up Pinpoint APRS. We did an episode of WaveTalkers Live talking about APRS and Pinpoint specifically. So let me go up here to tools. I'm going to connect the TNC. And so now as I'm getting TNC reports in here, those TNC reports are coming in there as well. You should be able to, if you go up to tools and you go to the options section, GPS, you should be able to select GPS coming in from the TNC. So this one's coming in via the pass-through. I'm going to uncheck that. I'm going to click the little drop down here. I'm going to go to COM8 because we remember that's where my GPS connection is. And there we go. And now we should be getting GPS data flowing in from the GPS dongle. And we can tell it to automatically connect the GPS when it comes in. And there we go. It should now have my GPS location flowing in directly from that dongle. So you can set pinpoint APRS to report your GPS position directly via APRS. And if you go back and watch that episode, we had a lot of really helpful things for using APRS in an MCOM situation because it allows you to reach out to a broader area of folks that and kind of monitor traffic that's going on there in just another way. Anything else come in? I think that's all. Any other?
Somebody was asking the name of the nautical app you used on your phone.
Yeah, the name of the
chart.
It's called iNavX is the app on the phone. Let me switch over to that. Here it is, iNavX. This works really good on an iPad. So I have an iPad Pro that I use with a nice big screen, and that's what I use on my boat as a chart plotter. Let me bring that up. It's been a while since I've launched this app because I haven't been out sailing. Do you love iNavX? Yes, I do, but I'm not going to report anything on it right now. So there we go. There's the chart, and you can just zoom in. All of the charts are able to be downloaded directly into your phone, and it's using the GPS that's in there. It's a really, really slick app. It's called iNavX, and that GPS to IP, if you go to their website, you can see there's like a half dozen different navigation apps that they operate with. This just happens to be the one that I use when I'm out sailing. Any other questions, thoughts, comments, concerns? It's bringing the colleagues back up as well. We're getting ready to wrap this thing up because we've been talking for a long time. And add spotlight and add the spotlight on Dave. There we go. There's all four of us. I'll bring myself back to normal like. And please remind me where in Winlink Express I enter the port number from GPS IP2. Oh, yep, sure. I can show that. We're going to go right back over to Winlink. If I click on it, here's my Winlink. Oh, I got to go to the map. I got the map up first. The joy of close the map. Close the window. Okay, so the location to add the IP and the port number. Just click on the little cross, which is your position report. You can also get to it by going to Settings, GPS Position Reports. Just bring that window up. And if you have the latest beta, if you don't have the latest beta, then this is not going to work. But if you've got the latest beta, then this feature is added in here. In the first dropdown, you would see TCP/IP. If you don't see TCP/IP, you don't have the latest beta. I'll show you in just a second where you can get that if you want to play with this. But you select TCP/IP, you enter in the IP address that it says right on the app. Go back over to the app real quick to show that. So here's the app, and it tells you right on the app, this is the IP address to enter, and it also tells you this is the port number to enter. And so you just enter that IP address right here, and you enter the port address right there, and just hit set. And if the demo gods are with you, you should see those data come right in. So right now, say the phone has kind of gone to sleep. I'd have to quit and come back into this to get it to appear. But let me go back up and show you in settings. If you want to try the beta and you want to test this out, go up to settings, go to Winlink Express Setup, and just check the bottom box here in the lower right-hand corner. Automatically install field test beta versions of Winlink Express. You definitely don't want to use this for an actual deployment because it is beta software, and everything that goes along with beta software is beta software. But go if you want to play with it, check that box, hit update, and then quit Winlink and just launch it again. And if you're connected to the interwebs, it should go ahead and say, hey, there's an update. Would you like to update? Go ahead and update it and have fun playing with it. All right. And anything else? I think that's about it, guys. That's a lot. If you are, I guess I could do a little plug for WaveTalkers. First of all, thank you to all of you who have been buying us coffees using the Buy Us a Coffee link. All of the supporters, it means a whole lot to us to be able to get the support to keep all of this infrastructure up and running. You can get to that link from wavetalkers.com. It's on every single page. You can just go in there. The recordings of this is going to be on all of our social media channels. So it's on YouTube. It's on our Facebook page. You can like and subscribe to us on those. It's on my LinkedIn page. We're also on LinkedIn, so you can get to us from there. And it's on WaveTalkers itself. If you go to WaveTalkers, there's a link in the upper right-hand corner for live and all of our previous episodes. So if you're just new to Winlink, you want to learn how to get involved with it, start at episode 1 and just kind of go ahead and catch up. There's also a resources page where there's a lot of short videos that all the guys have been recording and creating. They're all posted up there. There's quick start guides for you to walk through to really help you get your Winlink system up and running and operate with MCOM or anything else that you need to be able to do with Winlink and emergency communications. So with that, we'll do a quick round around. Is there anything else, anything you guys want to add?
Chris, just simply, if somebody is new to Winlink and you're watching this and you find it interesting, go back to the resource page on wavetalkers.com. It is very easy to follow along. You don't have to go through 5 hours of our sessions. Oh, you can if you want. And there are some very good segments, but there are also some short videos that make it a much faster process to learn how to come up to speed.
Thank you. Dave, anything from you?
No, I'm good. I'm just glad everybody tuned in, had a good time. Hope everybody learned quite a bit. And I see some questions in the chat about asking about what's up for our next episode. So all I could say is you'll have to tune in next week and find out.
Are we going to do next week with the Super Bowl, or are we going to skip a week?
Oh, that's a good point.
There's a Super Bowl? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't see a reason why not. If you guys are going to watch the Super Bowl, then you can watch it on the recording. Maybe we'll do the solar panel talk or something like that. But keep an eye on WaveTalkers. We've got a calendar up there, so you can download the calendar and link it in, so you can see that. There's a join us link in the live section, so you can fill out a form, and we send out an email once a week. If you want to join us inside of the Zoom session, you're able to do that. And thanks a lot for joining us. If you're here inside of the Zoom, you are welcome to hang around for the after party. As we shut down all of the live streams now, we'll invite everybody to go ahead and do the Q&A session where we'll open up all the mics and have folks to be able to chat and just kind of hang out for a while. So if you've been joining us out there on the internet, on any of our social media channels, thank you very much for joining us. And we're going to start shutting these streams down. So first we'll go off of LinkedIn. So thank you very much, all those of you joining us on LinkedIn. He's
hitting the trap door.
It is, right? It's like hitting the next button. Here comes Facebook, and ready for Facebook, and see everybody out there on Facebook. And bye-bye. And finally we have YouTube. So thanks to everybody who's out there watching out on YouTube. We'll go ahead and disconnect there. See you next